that we needed to make the exhibition different from the film. It couldn't be about the film itself. It's not, in a way, it sounds like a paradox, but it had to be about process and craft, because we had not seen the film. We did see some rough cuts. Guillermo would share some of the earlier versions of the film, but we didn't see the final film until after the exhibition was already, the checklist was full, and we began to install the shows when we finally saw the finished film. That this was a step beyond. This allowed us to watch a film while it was being made. We'd never brought full-scale sets into the museum before. He was very busy making the film all during our work, so he didn't trouble us much. We checked in with him a few times to tell him what we were doing. He made a few suggestions. We have a Volpe, the villain in the film. We have the puppet cut in half, right down the middle, and that was Guillermo's idea. He said, take a puppet and cut it in half so that people can see, the mechanics, how the puppets are made. Again, craft and process. Everything was very handcrafted. There was nothing that was already made when they brought it. They made everything. They made the wood. They made the stone. They devised light. Everything was made by hand. And Brittany and I flew to Portland, and that's when we met Guillermo in November of 2021. As I said, they were still making the film. And then we came back to New York and talked to the museum and said, we can do a great show for you here on what we've seen. And they said, very good, go back to Portland. So we went back to Portland in April of 2022. And that's really when we started organizing the exhibition. So really and we opened in December of 2022. So it was a very, very short organization time. I would not recommend that to anyone planning to do an exhibition. Give yourself a few years, not 1 year. That's not enough time. But everyone was very enthusiastic and very cooperative. And it was everyone at the Shadow Machine studio in Portland. They admired us. We admired them. It was a very nice working relationship. So it's really less than a year. We had never brought full-scale sets. We have the actual 8 large sets from large and small sets from the studio. When we visited in April, we said, we want this set. Don't destroy it. Keep it together because we want to bring it to New York. And so as they were making the film, we told them which sets we wanted for the exhibition. Otherwise, they don't keep them. They cannot afford to store them all. They get destroyed. They don't keep everything. They only keep select things. So we helped them decide what was good to keep. We walked through the workshop where they were working on the film, and we would point to things and say, we want that. We would say we were interested in how the puppets are made. So they would take us to the molds to show us the molds that they use to make the puppets, to fabricate the puppets. And later we discovered that Guillermo, early in his career, was a mold maker. He worked in a studio making molds. So he was very thrilled when we decided we wanted some molds. And in the exhibition, we put illumination light underneath the molds. They're translucent, so beautiful light comes through them. And those ideas come to you as you're organizing the exhibition. We make a note that we want to put lights to these objects, and which sets we wanted, which puppets we wanted, and which scenes, so that we would give a sense of the narrative of the film. Begins in the village, and then it goes to the carnival, and it goes to the re-education camp, but not to tell a story, basically to do these special moments in the film. Yes, many visitors don't realize that when they make a stop motion film, when they have a close-up of Pinocchio talking to the cricket, the cricket is very small, so they have to have a large version of the cricket for the close-up so they can use it. So, and those are called BA puppets. Guillermo calls them big-ass puppets, the BA puppets. So he would put these big-ass puppets, and that seems to be acceptable to say. That's how we describe them. And we have a cricket under a jar also in the lower gallery under a big hammer. That's another BA prop. It's very surprising. We have puppets in the film that are this small, and we have puppets, as you said, that are so big that they hang from the ceiling. I think it's exciting for particularly younger visitors to look at things in the exhibition and think to themselves, I could do this. This is something that I could do. I could make this. And I know Guillermo wanted the exhibition to be an inspiration to young children. So in the exhibition, we install the exhibition with some of the art very high for adults and some of the art very low, right down at the floor. And we thought we can see children coming to the exhibition and getting on their hands and knees and looking at the puppets very close. And it's happened. It's very gratifying. Pinocchio dies and comes alive 3 times, as you know, and that happens in many of Guillermo's films. So it's delightful. And his next project, I believe, is Frankenstein. He's going to do an adaptation of Frankenstein because he sees Pinocchio and Frankenstein as the same character. They're created by humans create these characters that they then lose control of. Pinocchio, Geppetto loses control of Pinocchio, and Dr. Frankenstein loses control of the monster. And so, again, Guillermo is exploring these themes and motifs that interest him. This kind of work involves many different kinds of artists. It involves craftspeople. And to bring this kind of work to the museum is important to me as a curator because it brings in an audience that may not be ready to deal with, what's considered serious art that's a different kind of art. But when they come to the museum, they encounter Guillermo first, and then they encounter Picasso or Matisse or Giacometti, other people who work on the same mediums. Many of the same mediums, all the mediums that are represented in the museum's collection, sculpting and drawing and painting, are represented in Guillermo's work and Guillermo's in filmmaking. And that's the beauty of an exhibition like this at a Museum of Modern Art, because it brings visitors in. It brings visitors who know Picasso and Matisse better. They get to know Guillermo, and it brings people who know Guillermo's films or love Guillermo. It brings them in, and they get to meet Picasso and Matisse upstairs. The exhibition is touring. It's going to go on tour. It closes on April 15th at the museum, and it opens in Portland. Guillermo would like to come to Mexico, and we're working on that. So I can't say officially, but that's our hope.